And here we go. Welcome into the Motivation Congregation podcast. My name is Michal Baruch. Thanks for being here. Thanks for waking up with us. If you are new to the show, well, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Be sure to rate and review the show. Really helps to grow the platform. And a bit of background information about what the Motivation Congregation is. Well, it's a daily podcast that talks Torah and Musar. Each talk is 3 to 5 minutes, centered around the week's parsha. Normally, things are kicked off with Rashi's commentary, with a very, very simple goal at the heart of every single talk, and that is to clearly define the basic principles of Jewish faith, or what we call here, Yesodos HaEmunah. Hopefully each talk you'll find inspiring. Each talk is crafted to motivate and to galvanize. And be sure to check out the weekly Parsha podcast. It's part of the TMC Podcast Network. It is a weekly podcast that gives us a bit more time, about 25 to 30 minutes weekly, to discuss one point of the Parsha. It gives us some extra time to develop the idea properly, to pepper it with proofs, and to clarify it, elucidate it, and hopefully come out with a clear and practical takeaway. If you enjoy the show, or you just wish for some financial stability and success along with a piece of paradise to look forward to, consider allocating your Meiser funds properly. Tithe your wealth to see future and enduring wealth. That's what we are told. So in your tithes, be sure to keep the Motivation Congregation in mind, and perhaps slide that scroller down to the bottom of the page and click the link and become a monthly supporter of the show. The Meiser money that you give and the charity that you give, the tzedakah, goes directly towards the aiding of the distribution and the creation of the Torah content here, and with a piece of the next world as a reward. Seems like a no-brainer. I mean, unless, of course, one is a professional scoffer, gossiper, or heretic, then maybe he wouldn't have a portion of the next world. But either way, consider allocating some of your Meiser money to the show. Lastly, be sure to subscribe to the Motivation Congregation on WhatsApp, where you can wake up on a highlight every morning and stream the daily talk. You can even have it sent directly to your phone, in which case you will then never forget to wake up on a highlight. Plus, with all the other motivational content, the in-depth Sefarim book reviews, the trips to the Sefarim stores, the behind-the-scenes looks, the bonus material, it has a lot going on, and perhaps you will enjoy it. So find the link in the show notes. And as always, thanks for waking up with us. I hope you find this episode enlightening and inspiring. And your listenership and engagement, it really means a lot. So thanks again, and I hope you enjoy this episode. It takes such extreme bravery to read the news these days. I wouldn't suggest it unless you really have a stomach of steel for the suffering that you will be exposed to by your fellow Jews just by reading the news headlines. It's hard to tolerate it and keep living a productive life. We are required to feel compassionate, a yarbis of losam, to have empathy about those suffering. But it takes such extreme bravery just to look at the news headlines. It has us reading about children that have been drowned by parents, hundreds of hostages still held captive, along with who knows how many of their loved ones that are in total agony over the hostage situation. We have bullets flying all over the place at rallies, Jew or Gentile. It seems like the world has gone rogue. And it takes bravery to to follow the news. It takes a stomach of steel to digest it. But with us being required to keep tabs on our at least Jewish brethren and feel empathetic for them, to take that midah from Moshe Rabbeinu, seeing the pain of the Hebrews, how are we to do it? Is it even the right thing to do with this much pain and suffering? What's the approach? And well, maybe this Rashi, as explained by the great Mashgiach Rebbe Leichter, I believe could give us a bit of insight as how to do what is required of us. The Jews were wandering in the Midbar, and eventually they became discouraged because of the constant wandering. It's in Perek Chaf Aleph Pasuk Dalet of Sefer Bamidbar, and it says, "Vatiksar nefesh ha'am baderech." The nation became discouraged from all the wandering, burnt out, unable to tolerate any more of the constant wandering in the wilderness. And trying to define the word, "Vatiksar nefesh ha'am," that the nation became Vatiksar nefesh, shortness of soul. Rashi tells us, listen to these incredible words about tolerating pain. Davar kasha al ha'adam, something that is painful, arduous on a person. Nofel bo belashin kitzar nefesh. It means that his soul is now bound. Something has now been placed on him that makes his soul short, tied. Ka'adam shatorach ba alav, as if a big package has been thrown onto you. Ve'ein daitai rachava lakabel oso adavar. But one's brain isn't broad enough to endure this heavy load. Ve'ein lo makom betoch libo logor sham hatzar. And this person doesn't have space in his heart for the pain to live. Rashi tells us that vatiksar nefesh, that struggling, inability to cope with all the suffering, it comes from a limited sense of perspective. It comes from an inability to be broad-minded. It would be cheating ourselves to deny the pain, deny the suffering, and to flee from it. There's a part of us that we have to see it and know what's happening. But broad-mindedness, an ability to let the pain find a section in one's heart, betoch libo logor sham, a place for the pain to live in his heart. And whether that means that one expands his heart so he has a spot there because of his now studying of faith, or chovos alavavos, to know that we're on the doorstep of Mashiach. It's been thousands of years, and the Geula is right around the corner, and we know that only good comes to this world, ultimate good through the eyes of Hashem. So maybe that means broad-mindedness in that perspective, or maybe it means there's a worry hour, a time where you can open up the door of worry, but it doesn't incapacitate you or paralyze you for the rest of your day. Empathy about the suffering, a yarbis of losam, but also broad-minded with a place for the suffering, to tolerate the suffering and feel bad, and to pray, and to feel it, and to understand the messages, but to be broad enough, open enough, that there's a place in your heart for the pain to live. This way we will be able to continue to ultimately do Torah and mitzvahs, which is going to be the only way that we can fix the situation. It will give us that strength and that ability to pray with devotion and with fervor, because that takes energy. And it's our avoda, it's our job, our responsibility to find a makom betoch libo logor shamatzar, to have a spot in your heart that the pain can live.